Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, continuing our look at the Dwarven mountain holds in Warhammer the Old World. As part of our faction focus series, we've covered characters, we've covered core units, we've covered the general faction rules, and we're now on to those special units. And for me, in the Dwarf faction, and for many factions, the special is a category is where some of those really key units are. So let's take a deep dive and see what the Dwarfs have to offer. First up are the Longbeards. Now, if you do have a king, you can take one unit of Longbeards as a core unit. However, if you don't have a king, or you want to take more units of Longbeards, then they do fall in the special category. So they do have good weapon skill and leadership, low movement and initiative. So pretty standard stuff there. Heavy infantry, 25mm base, and a unit size of 5+. They've got hand weapons and heavy armor as basic, and they can be upgraded with great weapons and shields. So again, you can get to that 4+ armor save. They can have a full command group with their musician, standard bearer, and champion, and they can take up to 50 points of standard runes. And the elder, who's the champion, can take 25 points of weapon runes and 25 points of talismanic runes. They also, similar as we saw on the Dwarf Warriors, they have the option 0 to 1 unit per 1,000 points can become drilled, which offers them a free redress the ranks before moving, and they can march within 8 inches of an enemy unit without a leadership test. Just a quick note on drilled, and why I quite like it is because you have a potential opportunity there. You could use a marching column formation, and then before you move next time, you would have that free redress the ranks. That could be quite interesting. So that is the stats on the Longbeards. Special rules, when you're going to see some more special rules popping up in the special category units, because that's what sets them apart. So they're in close order formation. They've got those Grom Rill weapons. So if you're not taking great weapons, you're still going to get AP -1, which is quite nice. You've got the Hatred Orcs and Goblins, Magic Resistance, and Resolute. They do get shield walls, so that's actually quite nice. So another reason why to consider taking shields. So once per game, the unit can choose to give ground rather than fall back in good order, and that can be quite key if you need the unit to hold its position. You can then they come with Veteran, which is the reroll failed leadership tests. They also have Venerable, which is friendly units within 6 inches can reroll failed panic tests, which is quite nice. If you put them sort of in between 2 units of Quarrelers, for example, that can help. So anything that you can do to buff surrounding units. So Longbeards, that area buff is actually quite nice. So essentially, Longbeards, they're boosted Dwarf Warriors. They get the +1 weapon skill, they get +1 strength, they come with Veteran for free, and they have the opportunity to become drilled in the same way, while also gaining Venerable. Though this does come at a cost of 4 points per model or more, and while that doesn't seem a lot, when you've got 20 of them in a unit, that's then 80 points more than a Dwarf Warrior unit. So while they're normally a special choice, because I normally include a king, I do get to take the unit of Longbeards as core. So I normally have 1 unit of Longbeards in an army list, but I'm using them as core, and that helps my core tax. So that's the reason why I'm not taking Dwarf Warriors. And sticking with the hand weapon, taking the shields gives me the benefit of that shield wall. And then I will take drilled if I have the points to spare, which overall, that kind of makes them a reasonably solid anvil unit for your more or your higher damage dealers to then play around, get flank charges and so on. So overall, Longbeard's an absolutely solid choice. Standard runes I consider. Rune of Confusion, I think, is an interesting one. It's not the cheapest rune out there, but it's not crazy expensive. And that is charging enemies in the front arc of the unit of Longbeards. They count as making a disordered charge. So that can help when you are charged in the front. And, bearing in mind that often, because of the low movement, the dwarves are going to be the ones getting charged, right? So, overall, a solid unit. Next up, probably one of my favourite units in terms of that sort of line infantry, Iron Breakers, good weapon skill leadership. They got low movement. They got low attacks for an elite infantry unit, and low initiative. Heavy infantry, 25 mil by 25, and unit size of 5+. So equipment, hand weapon, shields, and full plate armor. That's what they get standard, right? So these guys come as part of their points cost with a 3+ armor save, which is really, really nice. That does make them solidly durable infantry. Full command group. The Ironbeard can take a brace of Drake fire pistols or a Drake gun, and he can take the Cinderblast bombs. The Ironbeard can take also 25 points of weapon runes, and they can also become drilled, which is 0 to 1 unit per 1,000 points. So, and they can take 50 points of standard runes. So similar to Longbeards there, but they are considerably more durable in terms of the armor. So, special rules. Well, they've got the close order. They've got Gromril armor. So, they've got a 3+ armor save base, and on top of that, they re-roll armor saves of 1. All right, that's all included in their points. Very, very durable. On top of the normal dwarf toughness. Gromril weapons, so there's hand weapons getting an AP of -1. You know, add a Rune Lord to this to get that Forge Fire ability, to give them Armor Bane 2 on top of that. That's really nice. You know, 6 if to wound are going to do AP -3. That can start to get a bit scary. Magic resistance of 1. So they're a regimental unit, so they can have a detachment attached to them. That would be the Iron Drakes, and we'll come on to those in a later episode. You've got Resolute, Standard, Shield Wall again. So, you know, these guys have Shield Wall. They come with shields as base, so these guys are an absolute rock. You know, they're hugely durable. They got shield wall. They're also stubborn. So the first break test, the unit will automatically fall back in good order instead. And on top of that, they got Rune of Protection. So they got 6+ ward save against non-magical attacks. So even if you're being hit by war machines that have got some really good AP, or you're getting hit by something that's got crazy good AP, bearing in mind you're going to need to be hitting with AP -4 to have no save, you still get your ward save. Or you've got certain weapons, of course, like, you know, that you don't get an armor save, but you can still have a ward save. So these guys are still getting their ward save against non-magical attacks. So pretty solid. So as it says here, the ultimate dwarf anvil unit, 6+ ward save, full plate armor, shields for 2 points per model more than a Longbeard. So they are pricey for base infantry. But, you know, that takes into account the shields already included, right? So it's 2 points per model of a Longbeard, given they've already got shields included, whereas a Longbeard would have to pay the extra point for the shields. I always take a unit of Ironbreakers. They make a nice pairing with Longbeards as well to give you 2 solid anvil units. Taking 2 Ironbreakers gets really expensive. Drilled is worth taking if you can afford the points. I think it's valuable for the limited mobility of dwarf units. I don't recommend the extra weapons or runes on the Ironbeard. The Cinderblast bombs, they can be nice. Range of 8, it's a 15-point weapon. Can be hard to get regular use from, and would probably be better spent on making the whole unit drilled, in my opinion. So, you know, if you've got the points and you really want to kit everything out, then, you know, you go for it. But overall, you know, I think you've got to think about how expensive you want the unit to be, and actually, is there more value in more bodies over taking all these fancy weapon options for the champion. Standard runes, I consider again Rune of Confusion. Charging enemy in the front arc makes a disordered charge, I think, is a nice one. Especially given that on something like Hammers, you'd probably want to take the Rune of Hesitation, which is kind of the other one that affects charging enemies. So I think in this case, the Rune of Confusion for disordered charge actually works quite nicely. Okay, and then next up is the Miners. Now, not a huge fan of this unit. You've got good leadership, low movement, low strength, attacks, and initiative for an elite infantry unit. Bear in mind, these guys are in the special category. So heavy infantry, 25mm base size, unit size of 5+. Equipment, they come with hand weapons, they come with great weapons, and they come with heavy armor. Now, they can take blasting charges, which are a 6-inch range, strength 3, AP -1, armor bane 1, flaming attacks, and quick shot option, which is okay. But 6-inch range, I mean, these are really, you know, for a stand and shoot charge reaction, to be honest. Unless they're lucky enough to have got close to somebody that they can chuck them in before they charge, but more likely it's going to be for a stand and shoot charge reaction. Full command group. The Prospector can take a steam drill, and then 0 to 1 unit per 1,000 points can replace closed order with open order, become veterans, and may take up to 25 points of standard runes. Okay, but what do we really get? What makes miners different? So they're closed order, hatred, magic resistance, resolute. So they get ambushes. So they can be held in reserve from turn 2, and then you roll a d6 each turn, and if you roll a 4+, the unit arrives on any edge more than 8 inches from enemy units and automatically arrives on turn 5. So Vanguard, after deployment, may make a normal move, but not march. So overall, not that impressed with miners. They come in at the same points per model as Longbeards. They've got worse weapon skill and strength, reduced durability, and they really only gain the additional movement from the Vanguard and ambushes. But of course, if you're putting them in ambushes, you've got a 50-50 each turn of bringing them on. You get unlucky, and actually you don't get to use the unit for most of the game, and you've paid the same points model as a Longbeard. So, how often do you really want to take that risk in the ambushes? Vanguard, what are you going to do? You're going to push them up early on the board, try and take some central board control, which is an interesting perspective, but they're not the most durable. So you've got to have a plan to make sure you can bail these guys out, because they're probably going to get shot at and spells cast at them early game if you're pushing them up like that. Blasting charges as well, they seem mediocre really at strength 3 and 6 inches. If you're going to make it 6 inches, I'd quite really like to have seen it at strength 4. So it really makes it only for stand and shoot charge reaction. And if you're standing and shooting against heavy enemy infantry or heavy cavalry, more likely, then they could be in real trouble. Great weapons. Having great weapons is less of an issue. As I've said before with Dwarves, they've got low initiative, so actually they'll often be striking last anyway. So there's no real major downside in the great weapons. They've got no option for shields though. And overall, I just think there's better choices for the points in the special category and in the army list as a whole. So really not a fan of miners. Again, complete personal opinion. I'm sure some people love the ability to have them as ambushes and Vanguard doing sneaky things on the board, but overall it's not how I play my dwarves, and they just don't suit me. I'm not a big fan of them. Standard runes, if I was going to take standard runes on them, again, keep them cheap, and I'd take the Rune of Battle to give them that +1 combat result point, which I think is good value for points. And that brings us to the end of part 1 of our special units. There are quite a few special units, so we've kind of broken it down. So we've covered the 3 units there, and there is more special units to come. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And let me know your thoughts on these units as well in the comments down below. It would be good to hear what people think of the same units. If you want to see more content, please hit that subscribe button. It is absolutely critical to me. It's free for you to do. It's easy for you to do. It takes a few seconds. Such a big deal. So, thank you, and I appreciate that in advance for those that do. And I really appreciate those who have already subscribed. You've been watching The Ghost Owl. Tune back in as we move to part 2 of the special category of units for the Dwarven Mountain Holds.